Hey everybody, welcome to Mid America Dirt. I'm Skip, and I am super excited to be joined by Christy Barnett. Christy, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Skip?
Doing good, doing good. Let's start off with this. How did you get into racing?
Well, it was kind of an accident. When I was growing up, my family, nobody in my family liked to go outside or do anything. So I guess it was just all pent up. I moved out when I was 17, and when I was like 20, I decided I was going to go buy a dirt bike. So I just got on the phone book and just looked up. And the first thing that I came to was Yamaha of El Paso. So I drove out there to it, and it just so happened that it was Sherman that owned the Yamaha of El Paso. And I went in there and I said, okay, I'm here to buy a dirt bike. And I said, but if I buy it, you got to teach me how to ride it because I've never ridden a bike. So he sold me the bike and we started going out on Saturdays. Well, his way of showing me was here's the throttle and here's the brake and the clutch. And he left me. So I had to just kind of learn how to stay up with him. And then one night, he was a flat track racer. He raced motocross and flat track. And he took me out to the car races one night, and they had a flat track inside the race car track for the three wheelers. So they were racing three wheelers. So we got there, and he said, "Oh, by the way, you're racing one of these tonight." And I was like, "What?" I said, "I've never even
What?
ridden one of those things." Yeah, I was like, "What?" He said, "No, you're right. You're gonna race tonight." So he made me race, and I ended up getting third, and I won the championship that year. So that's how the racing started. It was full blown after that. I mean, I raced all the way up to the 250 open class, which was over 100 miles an hour on the flat tracks. And we did that for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years. And then we just ended up being by accident in the cars too.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
that was not
since I never saw flat track motorcycle racing until I started looking on your stuff, and it got me wondering what it is. And wow, that you man, you got to love racing motorcycles. I'd say to have to do that stuff. That was crazy to me.
well, people ask me to this day, they say, "Aren't you afraid in the race car?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like after I race a three wheeler flat track, and I said the car has got seat belts and a cage and everything, and when you're on a bike, you're just in the wind. And when you come off the bike, it's done. You're hitting the ground, and at 100 miles an hour, I had a really bad wreck one time. I was leading the race and I hit some water. I guess it came back up through the track. We were racing at the Las Cruces car track, and I went through the corner and I guess the water had come back up through the track and I hit it and the bike spun around a 360 and pitched me over the handlebars and I hit the ground on my face and I don't even know what happened. I just know from the video because it knocked me out. But I did know as soon as I hit the ground, all I saw was sparks flying off my helmet. That's how hard I
Oh
hit
my
the ground.
gosh.
And anyway, I didn't break my neck or anything. I should have been dead on that wreck, but I was okay. And so, yeah, the car racing's super easy compared to flat track and three wheelers.
It
At
sounds
least, and
like
the
it.
car doesn't. The car don't chase you down after you fall off and try to run over you either. So,
Oh, I've seen that stuff. I mean, flipping around, and yeah, and then the bike's coming, then you got to worry about the other guys hitting you.
yeah,
Uh,
I got
I've,
run over by a bike one time too. I've had lots of things happen on those three wheelers.
Dad, yum. Yeah, I mean
I'm pretty lucky that I'm still around.
man, you must love adrenaline or something, because that's I don't see how you do it, but it's neat. So how did you get into? How long did you do that before you got into cars?
Okay, the three wheelers and the motorcycle racing we did for about 4 or 5 years, and then by accident there was a car track. It was across the street from another car track, and the guy decided he was going to have a. He was a friend of ours, and he was going to do an enduro for junk cars. And I told Sherm, I said, I want to do that. I said, I want to take the car off the lot and do it. He's, it doesn't look like being any fun. And I said, well, I want to do it. So he just knocked the glass out and welded the door shut. So I had a friend that was a sprint car racer, and he was a car builder. And he knocked the glass out and welded the door shut. And so his wife and I shared the driving, and there was 78 cars start, and it was about a really small quarter-mile track. It was maybe a 3/8. I mean, like an eighth of a mile. So they started. It was almost 80 cars on that. So they were just at a dead stop until they started overheating and everything. And it was 200 laps nonstop. You could make pit stops or whatever. And the last car standing was the one that won, and it paid 1,000 to win. So we did it, and we ended up eighth. And after the race was over, Sherm's like, "Oh man, I got to get one of those." So we just decided, okay, we'll do that now instead of the bike race, and so that's how we started racing the cars. That was a
Okay.
long time ago. I've been doing the cars for, well, January will be 46 years.
So, I mean, but you're mostly modified, right? But I saw you had some late model stuff on here also. Uh,
Yeah, I did. I raced. I had one of Jason Pappage's. I don't know if you know him, but I had one of Jason Pappage's outlaw late models that I raced down around here. I raced those for about 2 or 3 years, and then the class kind of dropped off, so I sold my late model. Now the class is back, and I don't have a late model. But yeah, I've raced stock cars, limited late models, full blown late models, mods, B mods, trucks,
yeah,
anything
I
that
mean, I've
rolls.
seen it. And for people, if y'all don't know, go to her Facebook page and is it Christy Georges Barnett? Is that right?
Well, my last name was George's, and when I finally married Sherman, I changed it to Barnett. But it was like if I had to change everyone knew me as George's, and so I couldn't just change it to Barnett because nobody would know. They knew Barnett was, but they didn't
Right,
know
right,
that it was me. So that's why that hyphen's in there. But I prefer just to be straight Barnett. That
right,
was just the last name that I had.
right. But go look at her Facebook page and look at all this stuff we've done. And can I read some of that off? Is that okay with you?
Sure, sure.
One time 125cc three wheeler flat track champion, two times 250cc three wheeler flat track champion, four times limited X mod track champion. What's an X mod?
It it's a B mod. It's like a B mod, like a
Okay,
sport
B
mod.
mod. Okay,
Uh,
okay. And then one time UMP limited X mod regional champion, four time dirt track pro stock champion. It just goes on and on. And then here's one six times super truck track champion. Now, what is super truck?
they looked exactly like the NASCAR Craftsman trucks. That's what they are, except for you race them on the dirt.
Really?
Same, yeah, same thing. You just run them on the dirt, and it's a 360 cubic inch limit on the motor, and you run the McCrary tires like you run on the modified. You run the 8-inch tires, but it's like a NASCAR truck is what it looks like.
Okay. Did
I,
you
I
do that
have
down in
a
Vado?
Yeah, I've done it in Las Cruces. I've done it in here's my new hero card. I don't know if you can see it, but the truck is on the top.
Can you put it up just a hair? Oh yeah. Well, it does look just like an NASCAR truck.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah,
So
that's cool.
that's yeah. My husband, I wasn't driving those. He was, and he came up to me one day and he said, "I got a present for you." And I said, "What?" And he gives me this frame that has cobwebs all over it. It's a frame with the wheels on it, and that's it. And I said, "I don't want to drive the trucks." He says, "Yeah, we need more people in the class where you're going to drive a truck." So he just made me drive a truck. And I said, "Well, if I'm driving," that was his favorite class. And I said, "Well, if I'm going to drive a truck, I'm going to drive it. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to drive to win. I'm not going to go for second place."
You ain't
And
messing around. You get out there and get it
yeah, because
out.
normally it's just him and I that race each other, but it was his favorite class and he would win all the time. But I said, if I race it, I'm going to go for the win. I'm not going to. So I started racing the trucks. I think I've been in the trucks now about 12 years, maybe 10 or 12
Okay.
years. And I think it's been about 10 or 12 years, 10 years or something like that. But yeah, that's how I started in the truck. But he just made me drive
Wow.
it. So
Okay. What else we got here? We've got. There's just there's so much on here, Christy. You've won all kind of track championships, and are most of those at Vado? Is that your home track?
well, it used to be El Paso Speedway Park. The track went
Okay.
away, but El Paso Speedway Park, and then the other track was what did they call it? Was a Las Cruces track. I think it was called Mesilla Valley
I think
I
that's
can't
still there,
remember.
isn't it?
Well, no,
No,
it's gone.
I'm thinking about the trucking company.
Yeah, well, Basia Valley is the one that owns Vado, but he had the one in Las Cruces too. Southern New Mexico Speedway, that was the name of it. And then I raced in Tularosa, I raced in Roswell, I raced in Tucson, I raced in Casa Grande, I raced in Peoria, I raced in Mexico for 12 years. Uh,
You like in
Albuquerque,
Mexico?
yeah, in Mexico. In
Really?
Mexico. That's something I don't have on there either. I'm the only female that has ever won their international championships because they're from Mexico. I've won two modified international championships because I raced in Mexico.
Really?
There's no women. There's no women that race in Mexico at all. None. I mean zero, zero. And
Man,
when I raced over there, they treated me like I was like the queen of the country. It was unbelievable.
well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was unbelievable.
I didn't even know that was something that happened. I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
Wow. Okay. Did you?
yeah. All the guys that raced here, the older ones that raced like Royal and Jimmy Ray and all those people raced down there too.
Okay.
We all
Wow.
raced
I did
together. We've
not.
been racing together for a long time.
Do you still go down there or
No, it got too dangerous. They started
dangerous?
kidnapping people, and it was the drug cartels. It just got too bad. So, and
How
they
are the
actually they tore the track down and moved it somewhere else. But
how are the tracks down there? Were they decent?
well, they made this one. It was called Autopista Juarez, and they made it a carbon copy of the track that we had in El Paso. So it was super nice. They just didn't have lights, so you had to race in the daytime.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it
So I
was an
also
exact
saw.
copy.
Let me read some of this since this is there. I know there are going to be some girls watching this, and I want to put this on here. You are first woman in a NASCAR at Bonneville Salt Flats, 208 miles an hour. How was that?
That was interesting to say the least. Yeah, because it had to be NASCAR legal with the slicks. And the car that they gave me, the guy that owned the car is a guy that he's got one of John Force's funny cars. He's got one of Ernie Urban's cars, one of Jeff Gordon's cars. He's like the collector. And then the guy that this guy that had a Bush team, they were the ones that put the car together. And they said, okay, they said they did it for 2 years here in El Paso. They did a thing called Race El Paso where they had the first year they had Jeff Bodine drive it, and their deal was to qualify for the Brickyard 400. And so they had all the people in El Paso that wanted to sign the car, like they could donate $10 and sign their name on the car and be on the car at the Brickyard. And their goal was to just qualify. Well, the motor blew up the first year, and the second year they had Chad Chapin drive. I don't know if you remember, he was a truck racer, but he actually qualified. And then the third year they called me and they said, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to do this Bonneville thing. And I was like, why don't you get like Ashley Force or somebody like that, that's gone 300 miles an hour uh, to do it? And they said, no, we want to be a local racer and we want to be a female and we want to be you. So I said, okay, I agreed to it. And then after a while, I was thinking, what? Did I lose my mind or what? Like I'm not straight line. I turn left. So anyway, we did it all for charity. And we raised a lot of money for the charity. It was for a children's literacy deal. And the car was not it wasn't the actual car that they drove at the Brickyard. It was the show car. And it was an A.J. Foyt car that had not been driven in like 15 years. And it was really it had a lot of issues. And so
Iffy,
we're lucky that
little iffy.
we were, well, when I got in it to see if I could fit, just the first thing that happened was that the steering shaft broke off in my hand.
Oh my
Got swept.
gosh!
Yeah.
And you got
And,
to go 208 miles an hour in this thing?
well, yeah, the record was 223. And it had just a regular, like, cheap $100 seat in it. And I said, that's it. I'm not doing it unless I have a real NASCAR seat in it. I had a buddy that was racing the NASCAR Winston West over there in Phoenix. So he gave me his seat to put in there. It was a full containment seat. And then he went out there with me. And then my service rep from Harley Davidson was an avid vaudeville guy since he was like 5 years old, and he's about 70, and he's like, I want to go. He said, I can give you lots of information. So he went, Sherm went, my motor builder went. We were lucky that we even made it out there because the car had a lot of problems. But if you have you ever seen the movie called The Fastest Indian?
That sounds familiar.
It it has Anthony Hopkins as the star of it. But if you get a chance to rent that, watch it because it's about the Bonneville Salt Flats. It's a true story, and I mean the Bonneville Salt Flats is exactly like that movie, and it was a once in a lifetime experience. And like I am the only person on the planet that has a picture of this.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that's me
Yeah,
in the car.
that's on your that's on your Facebook page too. For people
Yeah,
if they
there's
want to
nobody
see
that
it.
has a NASCAR with a parachute. But anyway, that was we barely made it in there, and it just it wouldn't run, and we just had all kinds of issues. But I was on a world record run, and I saw the quarter panel coming around, and I was like, and you can't just like
Oh
dump the
no.
gas, because so I had just ease out of it to save it, and I lost 10 miles an hour right there just doing that. Otherwise, I'd have had a world record. So when I went through the
Golly.
trap, it was 208, but I was doing like 218, and I wasn't to the end yet. So I would have made it. I would have passed 223, but that happened, and I'd already spun once at 200, and I was like, I didn't want to do it again. So, but then we were having problems with things running. So I had there was a guy with us, the one that gave me the NASCAR seat, go make a run to see if we could figure out why it wouldn't run. And when he made the run, he spun and blew the windshield out of the car, and we didn't get to run it anymore. So that was the end of
Golly.
that. Yeah, and then those
Man.
guys, the ones that had me do it, they called me the next year and they said, do you want to do it again? And I said, well, if I do it again, you got to give me a car that's that's
Right.
safety worthy for one, and
Yeah.
you pay for it. You pay for all the travel and everything this time. We're not paying for anything, but they didn't want to do it, so that was the end of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's still pretty awesome. I mean, I think I may have gone 110. It's the fastest I've ever been in my life. So I mean, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, for
Well,
real.
yeah. After I agreed to that, I was like, I started thinking, oh my God, I got to go 200 miles an hour. I'm like, what's that going to be like? And so I started like when I would get on airplanes, I would try to see what it would look like coming down to land because you're going 150 or 180 miles an hour, and I'm thinking, man, I was trying to see what it would feel like, but that didn't work. It's different, let me tell you. And everyone thinks that vaudeville is easy, that you just get on the gas and go straight. Well, it ain't like that because that's wet salt, and it's rough. The track is
I did
rough.
not know that. I thought it was just like a
Yeah.
dry, flat.
Oh no, no, it's not easy to drive at all. And
Huh.
there's crosswinds that'll blow you over. I mean, it's hard to do it. And then when I got out there, the people like, are you out of your mind? Why are you running tires like that? And it's like, well, you have to have these tires because they have to be NASCAR legal. And they're saying, you're out of your mind trying to run those on this because everybody there runs whatever they're running. They run small ribbed tires, and they said you're never going to be able to go down that thing. So as far as I'm concerned, with what I was dealing with, I was a true NASCAR legal. The guy that had the record is a professional record setter, and he was corporate sponsored, and they were not NASCAR legal. They had this aerodynamic package that wasn't NASCAR. They had the skinny tires, they had all this other stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, I actually do because we asked out there. I have the fastest one for a woman for sure, but the overall record, I think I have it because I was legal for NASCAR. I was crazy. I went with the freaking slicks, and they were like, "What are you doing with slick?"
And so yeah, I mean that's you had slicks on, going
Those big
208 miles an
wide,
hour on the
yeah,
flats. So,
on the salt flats that are wet. So it's like snow. It's like wet snow that's hard.
golly.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not what it
that's
looks like.
impressive.
It's very different.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Very impressive. Let me ask you about this too. You're the only woman in history to win the UMP Dirt National Championship in any class, and that was in modified,
That was in the limited modified, the B
limited
mods.
modified.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And where did you? I mean, what? how did that happen? Did you run a series in that, or was that at a track, or I mean, what was that?
Well, it was multiple tracks, and as long as they were sanctioned by UMP, you qualify for your national points. And at that
Okay,
time, all the tracks around here were UMP sanctioned, and so I raced everywhere, and I just won a lot. So it doesn't, they take they take like your top 20 finishes or whatever,
okay.
and
Now, for people who don't know, I know I interviewed a late model driver Sunday, I think it was. He's up in Michigan and he runs UMP. And what is UMP? It's a sanctioning
it's
body.
yeah, it's a sanctioning body.
Okay,
That's and they're I'm trying to think. They're somewhere out of the Midwest. There,
okay.
it might be Iowa or Ohio or someplace like that. I can't remember where they're out of, but
Okay.
you can look that up.
And
It's
yeah, and then they
it's
just
it's it's a big time deal.
yeah. Well, I know this driver. He's pretty good right now. He's got a bunch of wins, but I just didn't. For people who don't know, just but they have different classes, right? Than late models, modifieds,
Yeah, yeah,
and different stuff, stock cars and things like that. Now, have you ever?
yeah.
You said it said you drove stock cars. Were they like factory stocks or street stocks or?
They called them different things, but they were like they're probably like the equivalent of what the highest stock car class now is. I don't know. They
Street
Most of them
stock,
they
maybe.
just call them stock. They just call them stock cars. I don't know if you. I'm trying to think. Like that one. Did you see that Ricky Thornton just won that big race for
Yes.
10,000 to
Yeah.
win? That
Yeah. They
that's
do
the
call them
stock
different
car.
stuff. It's like
Yeah,
Missouri has pure stocks and street stocks. Arkansas and Oklahoma have factory stocks. So it just depends on where you go, I guess.
yeah. Ours were called the regular stock car class. They had it was a stock car class by itself, just stock cars, and then they had it as pro stocks, and then basically they just had it as stock cars every time. They have a different classes called pure stocks, and they have some that are called hobby stocks, and so on down the
Oh
line.
yeah.
But the highest stock car class, the ones that it was just always called stock cars or pro stocks or something like that.
Now let me ask you this question: Do you wrench on them? I mean, do you work on them or?
Yeah, I don't do it as much as I used to because I got busy. Plus, I got old and I can't bend over very good. But yeah, I've I've done. I can't build a motor, but I can put one in, and I can change the transmissions out. I can do the setups. I can do the body work. I can do all. I've done all that stuff because I didn't have a crew before. It was just me and Sherm. I have a full blown crew now, so I don't have to do it.
Okay.
I
So you got a
sort of
crew
wish
chief and
that.
everything you need now.
Yeah, I've got crew. Jeeves is my crew chief, and then I have another crew guy named Ace, and then I have a motor builder. His name is Jerry, and we have a machine shop, and we do all in house. We just buy the chassis, and then we build the cars ourselves.
Okay. Now, do you travel? Like I noticed you've been to all kind of tracks, like Lucas Oil, Batesville, up in here, kind of in my area. Do you still travel the race, or do you mostly just stick down around there?
Uh, we don't travel hardly at all anymore because Sherm, during the season, he likes to race for points. I don't like to point race, but he likes to race for points. And we used to always go out after the season was over here. We would go out and race out of town. Now the season here runs until November, like the middle of November. And so we would only have December off, and then we would start over in January. And I don't go to Vegas anymore. I was the only one that never missed one of those up until I stopped going. I think I missed the last three, but I was there like 22 years in a row or 23 years in a row. And I did the Alltel 100 over there at Batesville. I did that. I did the Hope for 74. I've been on the USMTS swing in Missouri, Kansas, Missouri, Texas. Uh, I just don't travel as much anymore because Sherm just likes to stay around here, and plus, it's expensive to travel with that fuel. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'd rather please Sherm. Sherm is at the end of this month is going to be 90 years old, and he races three different classes, and he's 90 years old. Yes,
Like steel?
yeah,
That can you
he's
see if you can talk him into come on the show?
Yeah, he'll go on for sure. Yeah,
that
he
that is
turns
awesome.
90. Yeah, and he's still good too. He got let's see, not let's see. Last week he got third in the stock cars, and the week before that he got second in the truck. So he's still up there. He can still drive. Yeah,
Golly,
he's not your normal 90-year-old guy.
that is awesome. That's impressive. I mean, for real. Uh, wow, I did not know that. Uh, I would have assumed our mutual friend up here would have told me that, but he didn't. So I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I did not
yeah.
know that. That is really cool. Now you said Las Vegas. Is that the trophy that I saw a trophy in the guy's office up here? He had a little slot machine on it. Is that the race you were talking about at Vegas?
Well, they call it the Duel in the Desert, and it's an annual race that they have, and the trophies are different every time. And then, like
Okay.
I won the Legends race twice, 2 years in a row, and I've got the trophy sitting here. It's pretty cool. It has like the cards fanned out, and then it has poker chips on it. It's pretty cool looking. And then I have the I don't know. I got another one here. So they changed it. It's kind of it was kind of
That's all right.
it's kind of lame.
It,
The second one's kind of lame, but
oh yeah, I'm about to say, man, I wish you could pan that camera around so people could see all
I
those
I
trophies. And
can.
yeah,
I don't
give
know if
us a
I
pan
can or
around
not.
there. Let's see what's going on there.
See if I can do it without messing everything up.
The
Okay.
video, I'll put it in there so
Yeah.
people
No,
can see it.
I literally have. I've got. There's probably 400 in here in my office, and then I've got like 1,000 down at the race car shop. So yeah,
Golly,
I have a lot of trophies.
that's awesome. That's all. Okay, let me ask you this question. So, if there are any girls out there watching you right now, what would you tell them to encourage them to get out there and try to get in a race car?
It's just like I've always told all of them because I've mentored a lot of them. There was nobody when I was driving. And I just told them that you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. You're just sitting in a chair, basically, and you're driving down the street. It's the same thing. There's no difference. You don't have to be strong. You kind of have to be fit to do it because it is kind of physically demanding, but uh, it's more brains than it is anything else. And so I've told a lot of them that, and I have lots of now. They're like at Vado now. There's a mother-daughter team that races in the pure stock class, and they're right
Oh,
there for.
that's
I think
cool.
they're like second and third in the points. And then there's another one in Albuquerque that I mentored. She was like second or third in the points. She races in Albuquerque now, but there's a bunch of women out there racing now, and there's a bunch of them on the. I don't think there's any of them that go out on the U.S. MTS tour. I think I'm still the only one that ever has done that. You could ask Todd and Janet Staley, but uh, they can do whatever they want. Just don't let any. I always tell them, just don't let anybody tell you can't do it just because you're a female. That's not, for me if anybody ever said that to me, it just made me want to do it even more. And like I said, it takes more brains than it. You ask any of the good drivers, it's more brains than it is anything else.
Yeah, obviously you weren't intimidated at all. At all.
No,
I
no.
mean,
I
by the look
and
of
I
what's
and
behind you back there.
well, and with the way it was for me, because it was the same thing in the flat track, and there was no females doing it. So my racing career has always been with men. So there was no difference for me. I was always just driving or racing against other racers. It wasn't like I was just racing against men, even though it just happened to be always men, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm used to it. I'm used to being just all men, and I didn't have the best equipment, and I think that's probably that what helped me the most was that I didn't have the best equipment, and so when I did get good equipment, it made it even easier for me to do.
Yeah. That's super cool. Well, hey, do you have like merch, like T-shirts and stuff?
Sure,
How do people get those, Christy? Like, or get your
they
merch?
just I can they can just message me. I can send it, or I carry stuff in
Okay.
the trailer. Whatever they want, I
Okay.
can do whatever they want.
Okay. And I'll link that in the description so people, if they want to, get merch from you, they can do that. And also, do, do you have a Harley Davidson dealership?
Yeah, we do. It's the world's largest Harley Davidson dealership.
World's largest Harley Davidson dealership. That is
Yeah,
awesome. In El Paso, Texas?
yeah, in Podunk, El Paso, Texas.
Okay. Did I see a picture where you sold a Harley Davidson to a pretty famous late model driver? Maybe one of the best?
Oh, Scott?
Yeah.
Scott? He didn't buy that. He was here. He was racing at the Wild West
Oh,
Shootout, or it was, he came down to the shop and he was walking around and he saw that bike and he fell in love with it. He said, "Hey man, can I get in that photo booth and you take a picture of me on that bike?" And I said, "Sure." And he's like, "Do you have a leather jacket I can put on there?" I said, "Sure." That guy had the broadest shoulders of any person I've ever known in my life. He says to me at 2X, and like, no, and it was a 3X, and that barely fit on his shoulders. But anyway, yeah, he wanted that picture, and he then he said his buddies they were all going to go on a ride. I said, well, take the bike. I said, just go. So they went up and rode up to I think they rode up to Alamogordo and Ruidoso or someplace, but they went out on a ride and they had a blast and they came back and they just had a good time and.
that's awesome.
It was. There's more of a story to that. There's a little bit more of a story. It's funny that because I've raced against Scott a few. In fact, I beat Scott in that last Legends race
Did you really?
at Vegas. Yeah, he was in that race.
That's awesome.
But anyway, at that race, he was pitted up. There was so many cars there. They had him pitted up under the front of the stands. I mean, if you've ever seen Vegas, it's huge. So he was racing one of Zane DeVilbiss's cars, and they were pitted up there in the thing. So I walked up there and I saw his dad. So I was talking to Zippy's dad, and Scott comes walking up and he's like, "Hey," he goes, Do you still have that picture of me on that bike on your phone?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." He said, "Well, look and see." So I looked it up and I said, "Yeah, I got it right here." He goes, "Oh, send it to me on my phone." Cool. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Why are you gimping around still?" I said, because that was right after he wrecked, on that scooter down in Daytona where he broke his leg real bad.
Yeah.
I said, "What are you still gimping around about?" He goes, "Oh, well, my leg, sometimes it hurts." And he goes, "But man," he goes, "it was pretty bad." He said, "Check this out." And he comes over to me. He says, "Check this out." And he turned around and he pulled his pants down, mooned me in front of like 1,000 people. Like, literally moons me. And he had this real, like, gnarly scar on his butt cheek,
Oh
going
man.
down the back of his butt cheek. And I was like, damn, I said, what, why do you have that? And he said, well, when he broke his leg, his femur bone, the femur bone came out his butt.
Oh man.
It was a nasty break. And so
Oh.
I mean, that scar was, it was massive. It was gnarly looking. But yeah, so I can say that I got mooned by Scott too. Scott was a good guy. He was a real, real good guy. And yeah, so I had that funny story with him too.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I did not know you had the biggest Harley Davidson dealership in the world. I knew before I talked to you that you did, but that's super awesome. So yeah, if anybody in the El Paso, Texas area watching this, go by there and get yourself a Harley too. So hey, Hey, if I ever get down there, do you have like old junkers laying around? You could like
Yeah,
give somebody riding lessons on.
yeah. We could find something.
I,
We have we
I had I had a Honda 50 when I was a kid, and I rode that thing all over the place. And one of my buddies got on it and slid under a barbed wire fence and like to cut his eye out. Never rode a motorcycle again. My parents picked that
uh,
thing up and would not let us touch it.
well, we still have the fleet because our dealership in Las Cruces, we had the Harley riding school was there, and we had this fleet of the smaller. They were 500s, I think, the 500cc bikes that Harley made. So I think we still have that fleet, and they have like crash bars all on them and everything. And of course, you can
Nice.
see where people have dropped them and stuff like that. So we always have something we can teach people on.
That's cool. That's cool.
I teach you the
Well,
way I learned. Turn you loose and tell you to go ride it.
well, Chrissy, thank you for coming on here and talking to me for a while and sharing some of your story. I really appreciate it. I really do.
Well, I appreciate you asking me, and we'll see if we can't get Sherm. I know he would be. He'd be happy to come on
Yeah, that's.
if
I
you
had
wanted
no
him to come
idea.
on.
I had no idea. People would definitely want to hear about that. I promise you. I promise
Oh,
you.
he's one of a kind, that's for sure.
Well, thank you very much, Chrissy.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll get that I'll do that video of those and send them to you in my phone.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.